Please welcome to the stage Heather Robb from Stirling Council and Chris Jones from Homelync.
Good afternoon. Stirling Council owns and manages a property portfolio of around 6,000 buildings, ranging from secondary schools to one-bedroom homes, and it represents a huge investment by the Council. For each of these buildings, we hold a huge amount of data, everything from repairs to rents. And we hold this data in many different places, in many different formats, all across the Council. And it's often in silos, and sometimes it's duplicated. Our challenge was around how we could make better use of this data. And as you're about to see, Homelync haven't only taken our data, they're going to add some more to it, and the solution that they're going to provide will help us to better model and shape our services in the future. But perhaps more interestingly, the response to this challenge has also provided the opportunity to improve outcomes for our tenants. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Chris from Homelync to tell you more about this.
So today I want to tell you why Homelync is absolutely focused on bringing technology to the social housing sector. There are about 10,300 people dying in the UK every single year as a direct result of fuel poverty. That's about 120 people a day during the winter because they can't afford to heat their homes. Now, according to the Office for National Statistics, this number is worse now than it's been in the last 50 years. And it's only set to get worse as the population continues to age. Currently, 25% of households in Scotland suffer from some form of fuel poverty, and the government has rightly set a target to reduce that to 5% by 2040. The social landlords are also concerned with things like fire safety. Since Grenfell, there are new regulations that are being rolled out in Scotland. There's air quality, one of the main causes of mould in social homes, but is also linked to respiratory conditions, which is a huge burden on the NHS. Then there are environmental pressures, and then of course there's the rising cost and requirement of health and social care, particularly since the over 75 age demographic is going to double over the next 20 years. As you'd imagine, technology companies are now rushing to solve many of these problems. There are connected smoke alarms which help ensure compliance and safety. There are water leak detectors which can help prevent minor and major water leaks and reduce water waste. And there are smart boilers which help preventative maintenance strategies, reducing costs and helping with the fight against fuel poverty. But these technologies are only slowly being adopted by social landlords. And there are three main reasons for this. The first one is that many of these technologies are traditionally aimed at consumers, where the profit margins are higher. The second is that if a landlord wants to deploy dozens of new connected devices, that means they're going to have to monitor dozens of new dashboards, which is operationally pretty much impossible. And the third is that quite often these connected technologies require the use of the tenant's internet connection or Wi-Fi, which for a number of reasons simply doesn't work. And there is now a need for an end-to-end integration platform. So we have developed a smart home hub that connects third-party sensors to the internet using the mobile phone network. This means you don't need to rely on the tenant's internet connection. But by focusing and innovating in this space, not only can we ensure a reliable internet connection, but also market-leading IT security. Stirling Council has given us the opportunity to test our prototype hub in 5 properties. And one of those deployments is shown here. We've deployed this hub alongside a number of additional third-party sensors. So then live data can be combined with historic data and analysed. Now this provides the insight required to help them dramatically improve their services and reduce their costs. But how does it work? Well, there are several ways, but one is to reduce the number of visits that a landlord has to make to a property. Currently, Stirling visit there almost 6,000 houses, about 27,000 times a year. And like most, if not all, social landlords, they have a reactive approach to property maintenance. So this means that in January they might go to repair a boiler, then a couple of weeks later they're there for gas servicing check, then a couple of months later there's a minor leak that's been flagged by the tenant, and then later on there's an older section, and that's how this builds up throughout the year. Now, Homelync enables a more proactive approach to property maintenance. So a smart boiler can flag the fault straight to the landlord before the tenant realises that there's an issue. Whilst the engineer's there repairing that, they can check Homelync to see which additional tasks can be completed, helping to prevent some of those future visits. Not only does this save the council money on visits and improve the customer experience of their tenant, but crucially you're able to solve problems whilst they're still small. Whilst the leak's going to cost £10 to fix, or some mold's going to cost £10 to fix, rather than it becoming a £10,000 problem later on down the line. Homelync doesn't only add value by being able to cross-analyse information in one location, but crucially it provides a platform which future connected technologies can be integrated. We've shown that by reducing the number of visits, but also optimising investment, enabling the maintenance teams to take preventative action, or reducing void properties and the missed rent associated to that, we can save Stirling Council about £768,000 a year. But the absolutely beautiful thing about this technology is that the tenants who will pay nothing will save £800,000 a year. Now that works out at almost a month's rent per tenant every year, all while improving their safety and helping to reduce fuel poverty. There are huge environmental benefits. But what really surprised us on this project was that due to the knock-on societal benefits, like relieving some of the pressure on the NHS, once fully scaled in Stirling, we were able to show that we could save the wider society £5.4 million a year. Now that's just for Stirling's 6,000 houses. And given that 20% of all houses are social houses, imagine the economic impact this could have if this was further rolled out across Scotland. Now we didn't achieve this by ourselves. It's the coordination and collaboration of some of the market-leading smart home companies and FTSE 100 companies. And I want to take this opportunity to thank those suppliers that are shown here, in particular Smart Compliance, Blue Green and Valen, who provided free equipment and services to help us demonstrate the power of their technologies. In this rapidly emerging market and growing market, we currently have very few competitors. We do have defendable IP, some early market traction, and a team that has experience in this sector, as well as a unique business model. Currently, Stirling is one of the first social landlords across the UK to trial an integrated approach to connected technologies and data management. And they could well be the very first to roll this technology out across their assets and release some of the benefits that I've talked about today. We're now looking to further focus our operations in this region. And over the next few months, we're considering setting up an office here for that reason. If you think you can help us on our journey by signposting us to potential sources of funding, additional projects or pilots, or even media opportunities to help us get the message out, then it'd be really great to hear from you. Please do come and see us at our stand. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Okay, questions? Yes.
Hi, can you give another example of how this technology works?
Yes, sorry, where was that coming from? Okay. Another example, I only talked about reduced visits there, but there are actually dozens of examples in ways that it can save money and improve the experience of tenants. Another interesting way is optimising investment. So, for example, if you know the live data and information coming from houses, for example, how fuel efficient those houses are, how thermally efficient they are, you could then trial some new wall insulation and underfloor heating separately in several properties, and then get real-time data to understand which of those, in reality, has the biggest impact on reducing fuel poverty and helping the tenants. And then you can further roll it out across all of your assets.
Okay, next question. Is you on there? I've actually got a question for you, Heather, because it's around from the council's perspective, the opportunity for operational and cultural change when you start deploying new systems like these?
I think initially what we're looking for is obviously to improve the repair service, potentially to make some savings. But a bit like the challenge this morning around illicit trading, it took a little bit of a CivTech twist. And we've also now potentially looking at smart technology, which won't just help us, but it will help our citizens with the potential for alleviating fuel poverty. I think that there's so many sides to this challenge now that perhaps it's taken a twist from the original one where we just wanted to change how we do a service, we just wanted to improve things for our tenants from a repairs perspective, and also to help us to better model and shape our services when it comes to both our public buildings and our houses. So it did have a little bit of a CivTech twist in it.
But it's great to have you back the second time. Now, any other questions? So it's also worth noting that Homelync are another English-based company. So you're down in Bristol, and you're looking to set up something up here.
Yeah. There's a lot of great opportunities in Scotland for tech companies. So a really interesting opportunity for us. Fortunately, all of our pilots are either right on the south coast of the UK or now right in the north of the UK. So lots of the split team and time travelling, but it's definitely worth it. It's huge opportunities here.
Great stuff. Chris, Heather, thank you very much.